this would be class period 7, May 25th. The last time that this class. A couple things as we get into it. I have been having to start every class period with today. One, my 8th graders, welcome. You guys are welcome to be in here, but I do say today is for my 7th graders. So don't be distracting. Not been an issue so far today, but once again, legally I have to say that, so in case I kill you on camera, it's recorded. And my 7th graders, don't make more out of today than what it is. The reason I say that is it's just an old person talking to you. So realize it's just an old person who's talking to you. And old people talk to you all the time. And the whole emotions and feels thing, it gets, it's overrated. For one, emotions don't really exist. Two, coming out of today, hey, did you leave something in here, or?
Is Gus in here?
Gus is not.
Okay.
I'm Gus free.
He left.
Apparently he left.
It's not funny.
Whoop. Nice try.
I see that.
He's funny.
A lot of kids come out of today, and the words that I have an impact on them. And some kids do have the feels and the emotions, and a lot of kids don't, which is absolutely fine. If you leave today and it did not touch you in any way, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't mean you're dead inside. You might be. It just is not the indicator of it. So I don't want you to come out of this and feel that it's some major thing. It's not. It's just me talking to you. So keep that in mind as we go forward and try to not make it any more than it has to be. All right. To finish out yesterday's story, before I get a chance to get into today's story, for you guys, it is the ultimate day. I'll try to wrap this one up as quickly as I can, as best I can. So I had the 2 cops were with me over at my car, and they had told me they could either tow the car or I could open it right there. Correct?
Yeah.
Where I stopped. All right. And this was a flashback for me because I'd been in this position before. This was going back to my second arrest. With the whole get arrested now or get arrested later, but both of them ended me getting arrested, which was absolutely not what I wanted. But of the 2 options that they were presenting me, I did not want to get arrested and then have to pay a bunch of money on top of it. I figured getting arrested now was the better choice. So I go, fine. And I got out my key and I went ahead and unlocked the back of it, and it popped open, just like you see in the picture there, and except I had the blanket over the pile of car stuff, and the 2 cops stepped past me to the blanket and flipped the blanket back. And I remember to this day, their reaction was both of them stepped back, went, holy, and then they cursed, because it was a lot of beer that was back there. And I did not think that was a good sound. It wasn't like a holy cow, you're free to go. Good job, kid. It was going to be a holy moly, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, which is the way it went. And they both looked at each other, and then they looked at the 3 of us, and they go, whose car is this? And both the 21-year-old and Fish at the same time went, his, and pointed to me, because that's what friends do, and random 20-year-olds that you meet to buy beer. And the cops looked at me and they go, is this your car? And I'll be honest, I considered not claiming my car and just dropping the keys and going, nope, we found it in the parking lot, no idea who it belongs to, and then just walking away. And then thinking, hey, maybe I won't get arrested. But I figured throwing a car away would not be something my parents would be very happy with. In the whole, is it better to get arrested or have the car taken away from me forever? Getting arrested was probably the better choice. So I decided to man up. And I went, yeah, I think that's my car. And they go, all right. And they turned to Fish and the 21-year-old. And they go, gentlemen, you 2 are free to go. And they both went, what? The same reaction you had. But it turns out they're not breaking the law because it's not their car. They're not in possession. All they were doing was standing in the parking lot next to it. Everything else that happened before that didn't really matter. And so they did the same thing. They went, really? The cop goes, unless you want to stay. And they go, nope. And they took off running. And I was like, me too? And they go, They go, son, your car, your alcohol, you're in possession, you're under arrest. So I was arrested for possession. And so once again, they read me my rights. They turned me around. They put the handcuffs on. The handcuffs were all cold and hard and pinchy. which is only the best way to describe the handcuffs. They're cold and pinchy. And they snapped them on, and then it hit me that I was being arrested for alcohol possession when I didn't even drink alcohol. And the irony of that was really strong, and I was not happy about it, but there wasn't anything I could do. And I remember once again, the car was right about there, and there's a little curb right next to it, and I sat down next to my car on the curb with my hands cuffed behind me while the two cops called in a police cruiser to come and pick up the beer because it was more than they could carry away. As I'm sitting there wondering, does this mean I get kicked out of school? Did my previous arrest really get wiped out when I turned 18? What are my parents going to say on this? Do I still try and go on the date with that girl? Do I go ahead and give up after this? All those thoughts were sitting there going through my head. And I remember as I sat there, I looked up, and I lived on the 11th or the 12th floor. And all the lights started coming on the dorm floor, and faces started appearing in the window staring down at me, because these were all the guys that we had supposedly were supposed to throw the party for and have all the beer for, and now they didn't have any beer, so they didn't have a party. So they said their party was watching me get arrested. And so they all stood in the windows with their little faces down there and waved to me, and I couldn't wave back because my hands were behind me. So I was like, I'm waving to you with one finger, but you can't see it. And so it was not a happy time whatsoever. And eventually the cop car pulled up. And I remember they led me over to the cop car, and I had to sit into the back seat this time as opposed to the front seat. And I remember the back seat was a hard plastic. It was not cloth like a normal car. It was like the red chairs that you guys are sitting in. It was like that kind of plastic, which was weird because I was like, that's not what I was expecting for the back of a cop car. And when you sat down, like where your tailbone would be at the very back, there was a little, like a divot, a pocket that your hands went into. So that way when you sat down, you didn't crush your own hands. So that like you try to sit on your hands on your chair, it hurts. You'd sit down, there's like a little spot where I could like move my hands around. And I was like, whoop-a-doo-doo-doo. I was like, oh, that was kind of neat. And I remember asking the cops on the drive, I was like, so why is the seat hard like that? I was like, that doesn't make any sense. They're like, oh, well, son, that's because a lot of times on the weekends we pick up kids who are drunk and they tend to puke in the back seat. So this makes it easy to wash the car out. I was like looking around, I was like, that's kind of disgusting. And then they drove me down to the police station. At the police station, I got fingerprinted, and I got my mugshot taken. And with the mugshot being taken, it probably still exists unless they've burned it, which I can only hope. I wish I could show it to you because that would be awesome, but I can't. I have no desire to go down and find it, but it was down in the Bloomington Police Department. And being 18, they don't report it to your parents. They went ahead and they processed me, or they take you through there and interview and get you all your information. Like, all right, you'll have a court hearing in a couple weeks. We'll mail you the information, and out you go. I'm like, that's it? And I'm like, that's it. And then I was kicked out the front door. I was like a half hour away from home, so I had to walk home, which was awful. But that was it. And it was up to me to tell my parents, which I did not want to do. That was not a conversation I was looking forward to at all. So I didn't. I put it off because that's what mature and responsible people do. I told myself it's because that's not a phone conversation that you want to have with your parents and call them up and be like, hey, how's dad? Got arrested. Okay, talk to you later. So I figured I'd wait and tell them in person. And so it was in November, so I waited until Thanksgiving break, which was like another 2 weeks later. And Thanksgiving break came, and I went home and visited my parents, and I tried to make it as lighthearted as possible. I remember telling them, hey, how you guys doing? Good Thanksgiving. I was like, oh, you remember when I was 14? They're like, yeah, that was a rough year. I was like, I know. Yeah, I remember I got arrested. And they're like, I was like, yeah, it happened again. They're like, what? Like, you got arrested for shoplifting? I'm like, no, I mixed it up this time. Possession. And they're like, what do you mean possession? I was like, alcohol. I'm like, well, what kind of alcohol? I was like, I had a couple cans of beer. They're like, well, how many? And I was like, 200. Like, what? And I was like, 200 cans of beer. And apparently parents don't find that kind of stuff funny. Parents. And so I had to tell them that I was arrested for the 200 cans of beer. And with my family having a strong predilection for addiction and alcohol and drugs, telling my mom that I was arrested with 200 cans of beer in the back of my car did not go well. She was more upset with the fact that it was alcohol than the fact that I got arrested, because she assumed that I had a drinking problem, which is what she accused me of. And she told me, all right, hon, we understand. We're going to get you into rehab to help you out. And I go, Mom, I was like, I don't drink. I don't need rehab. And her response was, hon, you have to admit you have a problem before we can get you help. And I go, I don't have a problem. I was like, I have problems, but that's not one of them. And so it was one of the big fight I had with my parents with the fact that I tried to convince them that I was just dumb. the fact that I was trying to be nice to a friend, but I didn't actually drink. And they didn't believe me at all until I invited some friends over who were down at IU with me, my roommate at the time, who they knew since I was in junior high. And they managed to convince my parents that I was just an idiot. I remember they interrogated them. They made me leave the room and then made my friend sit at the kitchen table, like shined a light in their face and quizzed them. And eventually my friends were able to convince them, nope, he doesn't drink, he's just a moron. And they were like, oh, thank God, our child's just an idiot. And I was like, thanks. And so that was sort of the fallout from there. My parents were fairly forgiving because I didn't drink and I was just trying to be nice. Like, well, you were an idiot. I'm like, oh, I know. Like, well, try not to be an idiot in the future. I was like, well, I wasn't trying to that time. And it just kind of happened. And so they were fairly supportive and friendly from it. Unfortunately, the government doesn't care that I didn't drink. And so I had to go to rehab class. And so even though I didn't drink, and I told them, I was like, I don't drink, the judge was like, well, you don't care. And I'm like, seriously? He's like, seriously, I don't care. And so I had to go to 7 weeks of classes on Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to 1 in the afternoon, where I had to learn not to drink alcohol, which I already was not drinking. So it was a good use of my time. And it was scary, because there were some people in there that didn't have all their teeth. And they did not dress well, and they were kind of on the scary side overall. And so it kept me from drinking for a while. And that was the last time I got arrested. And so that was 22 years ago. So I'm on my longest streak yet of 22 years. So I'm pretty excited. Hoping to add a few more years to that before anything changes. And so I bring all of that up to lead into today with stories to tell you. And you'll have to forgive me because today my brain is all melty and all over the place. I'm gonna do my best, but it's been a long day to get through all of this. I told you before I didn't always used to end with the stories at the ending of the year, and it was my past kids that came back talking to me, my past 8th graders who would talk to me, and my high school kids that would talk to me. And one of the things that I learned from talking to them was a lot of what I did in class, kids didn't realize why I did the stuff I did in class. And so I decided to sort of spend today explaining to you why I do a lot of the things I do in my room. Because everything I do in my room is to make you a better person. Even though I know it doesn't seem like that. It seems a lot of what I do is mean and petty and evil, like I just enjoy the torturing of kids. But it's not on any level. Everything I do is to make you a better human on some level. Because I've realized years ago that I don't teach English. English is the subject matter of here, but making you a better person is a much more important job for me to do, rather than teaching you English, which in the long term is not important. Unfortunately, most of junior high classes are not important in the long run. But what is important is you learning from them how to become the person that you should become. For homework, I use it in my class to teach you how to become responsible. Because my homework's not hard. My homework takes you 10 minutes to do, and I give it once, twice a week at the very most. Every human should be able to do my homework. The only reason to not do my homework is out of laziness. And that's a problem that we have, which is why I do my best to sort of teach you that. Who are you looking for? She's right next to you. Boom. Nicely done. I set up my room to try and teach you to not be lazy, because it's human nature to be lazy. It's human nature to take the easy route. It's human nature to do what is easiest for us. And for a lot of you, that laziness is where you don't do homework, or where you act like a turd in class, or where you make the choices that you shouldn't make, because that is the easy route. Because you're supposed to have people in your life that tell you not to do those things. You're supposed to have parents at home that tell you that not turning in work is wrong. You're supposed to have parents in your life that say that getting F's is wrong. And not every kid has stuff like that. Not every kid has parents at home that do what parents are supposed to do. So I step in, and I do that instead. And I become that person in your life that yells at you. my version of yelling at least. I become the person in your life that holds you responsible for your choices. That lets you know if you don't do homework, you're going to stand. And it does not change. Regardless if you are a kid that's failing my class or you're a kid that has an A in my class. If you don't do the homework, you stand. Because I expect you to do your homework. I expect better of you. If you act like a turd and you lose your points, you're going to go to my slow kid area. Because I expect better of you. It's what I know you can do better than that. So I set up my room so that you understand I expect the right kind of behavior from you. I expect you to make the choices that you're supposed to. I put those quotes up behind me because they help give me focus. And that middle one's been my focus for today. It's helped me. Because that has been my guidance as I teach. When I first started teaching, I assumed every kid came from a good background, that every kid had a good home life. Because as dysfunctional as my family was, that's what I had. I had a good home life. I had two parents that cooked dinner every night, and we sat at the kitchen table, and they told me they loved me, and they told me they were proud of me, and they expected me to make the right choices. I still screwed up, obviously. I still made poor choices, but they were there for me. But the problem is not every kid has that. As the first part of that quote says, if you come from a family where you have two parents, and they love you, and they treat you the way you're supposed to be treated, and it's a place where you feel safe and you feel loved, that makes my job easy, because that means there's already people on my side at your house doing what they're supposed to do. But if you don't come from that, and you come from a home where there's only one parent there, or you have two parents but they fight all the time, or you have parents that are gone, or you have a parent that's dealing with drugs or alcohol, or the fact that your home is not a place of happiness at all. If you come from that, then my job's even more important, because it means I have to be that role for you. And so that's what I end up doing for a lot of kids. I end up being that adult that cares for them. Because I realized years ago with my teaching that a lot of kids come into my room and their previous teachers have given up on them, and their parents have given up on them, and they've stopped yelling at them, and they've stopped telling them that they can do better, and they've stopped saying, I don't accept this from you. And that's a scary place to be when you get to a point in your life when people have given up on you. So I don't give up on any of my kids. It's why even going up to the last days, I still make kids sit in the slow kids section, where I still make kids sit in the hallway, where I still punish you, because it means I've not given up on you. I'm still going to hold you responsible for your choices. Because someone needs to. Someone needs to be that adult in your life that says, I care for you and I expect more from you. If you come from a home that is not the happiest of places, if you come from a home where the parents fight, where you don't want to be there because a parent yells at you, where you don't have a parent that's telling you to do your homework, where you don't have a parent that's telling you that you should not be a turd in class, school does not become the most important thing for you, because you have other issues in your life. You've got things stronger than school pulling on you. You've got the fact that you're just trying to get from one day to the next pulling on you. And I understand that. I understand that for some kids, school's not important because there's so many things going on at home that's so much more important. But the problem is, if you're in that position, it doesn't get better. Life gets tougher. If you're in the spot now where you're 13 and 14 and you're having to parent yourself and you're having to raise younger brothers and sisters and you have to make your own dinner and you're the one that has to yell at yourself for not doing homework because you don't have a parent doing it, it doesn't magically change later on. So what you have to do is you have to become a stronger person. Life is making you grow up faster than you need to. Life is going to make you deal with stuff before you should. You're going to have to be a strong enough person to make you do that homework. You're going to have to be a strong enough person to do those things when you're supposed to. For those of you who do come from a happy home, a place where you fight with your parents, but they both love you, they make you do your homework, they make you sit at the dinner table with them. What I need you to understand is that not every kid comes from that home. Most kids don't come from that home. When you sit in class, the kids that sit around you don't have the home life you have. There's a lot of kids whose home life is not a happy place. Their home life is a place that they don't want to go to. I have kids who come into my room at the end of the school year and cry because the year's ending. And they don't cry because they love school. They're failing school. And they don't cry because they love me or other teachers, because I'm not that great. They cry because school's their happy place, because home is that unhappy, that they cry because now they have to go and spend 2 months at a place that they fear. And imagine that's what kids go home to. Imagine how much anger and heartache and fear and rage and hatred that builds up in you if that's the place that you go home to. This is a 13 and 14-year-old kid. It's going to come out. This is why you see kids attack other kids. This is why you see kids bully other people, because that heartache is inside of them. That rage is inside of them. And you're too young to be able to hold that in. You shouldn't have to. You should be able to be in a home that's happy. Even if you're not, you should. That's what life should give you. But life sucks sometimes, and it doesn't give you that. So if you're in that position, I ask you to be strong. I ask you to find a way to find the strength to get through it. If you're not in that position, you have an even tougher job. Because what I'm going to ask you to do is be nice to those people. When you see a kid that gets kicked out of class, when you see a kid that doesn't do homework, when you see that kid that's always getting in trouble, that doesn't come from a place of happiness. That comes from a place of unhappiness. And what they need from you is they need you to be nice to them when no one else is being nice to them. They need you to be a friend when no one else is being friendly toward them. And it'll be the absolute last thing you want to do, because they won't feel like they deserve it. What you're going to want to do is yell at them. You're going to want to rage at them. You're going to want to be mean back to them, because meanness makes people want to be mean to them. But you have to be bigger. You have to be stronger. And you have to be able to be the nice person to them. Think about my class. When you guys act like turds in my class, and you guys make the poor choices in my class, I don't come at you from a place of anger. I don't yell at you. I don't belittle you. I'm not mean to you. I tell you I expect better. Because I realize when you make those choices, you don't need someone being mean to you. You need someone being nice to you. Because obviously there's not enough niceness in your life. So that's what I want you to do. Be nice to other people. And part of that niceness, and this comes from teachers also, is you have to realize your words have power. And when you repeatedly tell someone something, it carries weight. The smartest kid in my class, if I tell them they're dumb on a daily basis, regardless of their grades, regardless of how smart they are, they'll begin to think they're dumb. The skinniest kid in the world, if you tell them they're fat enough times, they're going to believe you. If you repeat something and you tell someone enough times, they eventually believe it. I have too many kids who come from homes where parents tell them on a daily basis, you're ugly, you're dumb, you're fat, you're worthless, you're trash. And they get told that every single day when they get home. Even if they're not, after a while, you begin to believe it. Which is why in my room, I don't know if you picked up on it, but I never do that. I never call you dumb. I never say you're worthless. I never belittle you. I will tease you. I will poke fun at you at times when you make those poor choices. I'll call you a slow kid. But that's not you. I don't question your character. I question your choices because your choices deserve to be questioned. Pay attention to that when people talk to you. Pay attention when you talk to other people. When you talk to others, even joking around. Do you have a friend you always call an idiot? Do you have a friend you always call fat? Even if you're smiling and joking when you say it, if you say it enough times, they'll begin to believe it. That has weight to it. So I ask you to be conscious of that when you talk to other people. And at the same time, be conscious when people say it to you. If people keep saying that same thing to you, don't let it have that weight. Control your life and don't let them weigh you down with their negative words. Trying to go two different directions at once. I mentioned that for some kids, my job is to be the one that yells at them. But that's not the job for all kids. For some of you, that wasn't the role I played for you, and that's fine. For others of you, my room was a place of happiness, which is great, because I know some of you just enjoyed being in my room. It was a place where you smiled. It was a place where you enjoyed ending the day. It was just that place where you could enjoy school at a time when you didn't think you could enjoy school. And I'm absolutely happy to have that role for you, because sometimes that's what you need, is that place that brings you happiness. For others of you, you needed me to be the one to yell at you, and you needed me to be the one that said, I expect more of you. And I'm happy to do that for you too. Others of you have needed me for other reasons, and you've needed me to be that person that you could talk to, that person that would listen and not judge you. Because judging is not who I am. It's not part of my personality. It's one of the things I love about my mom that she passed along to me, was to accept everybody, regardless of race, gender, background. And I've had kids pick up on that. And some kids have used me as a person to listen because they need to talk. Because sometimes when things aren't working at home, you need someone to talk to. And you're afraid that talking to friends will judge you. Or there's problems with friends and you don't want to talk to parents because you don't want your parents to know about it. I've been that ear for many kids. Sometimes it's in an email, sometimes it's in a remind message, sometimes it's when they come by and talk after school. And I'm happy to play that role for kids too, to be that person that will listen. And I offer that to all of you, to be that person that will listen to you if you need me. Even if you think that you and I did not get along, or you think that the phone's going to ring. Escape class. Hello? I do. I will. Yep. Tyler, I need you in the nurse. Tyler, they need you in the nurse. Tyler, I'm sure you get a chance to come back. Yay, see, it broke it. Everything's happy now. I will be that person for you. If you want to come back and talk, let me know. Even if you and I did not connect throughout the year, if you think that on some reason I don't like you, or the fact that you and I never talked, don't let that be the thing that stops you. Please know that I will not turn you away if you come back to talk. One last thing I wanted to get to was a phone call that was really poorly timed. Hey, look, it's the nurse again. Hello? Yeah. Yep. Not a problem. Right. Also the nurse. The thing I wanted to get to with the time I have running out is happiness. I know I told you guys that I had my teacher who I thought was the first happy person I saw, which was Mr. Purvis. There's a lot of adults who are not happy, but I'm a happy person. I'm a very happy person. And I want you guys to be happy. And what I wanted to do was pass along what I found that made me happy. And it's one of those things that's easy to say, but takes years to figure out. And it's being secure in who you are. Knowing who you are and being happy with it. Because that's what junior high is. Beyond that, that's what life is. Because there's too many adults who've not done that yet. It is figuring out who you want to be in the world and embracing it and being happy with it. Anyone you see in the world who is truly happy and is truly content with who they are is because they've accepted who they are. And they no longer let other people's opinions affect them. Yes?
Kayla, Abigail, and Haley have to go back.
Okay. We'll miss you. So what I ask of you moving forward is, as you go through life, stop letting other people shape your world. Stop letting other people control who you are. Because that's not where happiness comes from. That's not where confidence comes from. Happiness and confidence comes from you being happy with who you are inside your head and not worrying about what other people say about you. Not worrying about what other kids at school or your parents or teachers or coaches or other people you come in contact with, not letting them shape who you are. You can let them guide you, but don't let them control you. If you love your parents and you trust them, if there's teachers that you trust, if there's coaches that you trust, let them guide you, but don't let them decide who you are. You decide what kind of person you want to be. Once you decide on who that person is, love that person. Be confident in who that person is. Once you've done that, you'll find happiness. And that's where confidence comes from. Because I remember when I was younger, I always thought confidence came from being popular. But being a teacher, I have too many popular kids that come back and talk to me that are not confident or happy. Because popularity brings too much self-doubt, too much fear, too much worrying about others to truly be confident. As you go to 8th grade, as some of you go to high school, realize only one person controls what kind of person you're going to be, and that's you. Do you want to be the kid that is outgoing? Do you want to be the kid that talks to others? Do you want to be that one that others flock to? Do you want to be the one that boldly walks up to that cute person and asks them out? Why don't you? What stops you from being that person? Fear? Of what? Of what they think about you? If they think poorly about you, then that's not someone that you should worry about. You need to control your world. You need to control what type of person you're going to be.